All right. So, a little bit of a delay in uploading Friday's workout session, but nonetheless, it's still here. So since this was a second work or second session of last week, you had the deload and the squat, the press and the power clean. And I was sort of thinking about this last week, where even though it's only 2 sessions per week, if you start if you start compounding all the small incremental jumps, it makes a big difference. So what I mean by that is, let's assume that I squat once a week, or sorry, I squat twice a week, but I have an weekly increase of 5 pounds per week. So that would mean that, assuming, my squat goes up linearly, it's 20 pounds in a month, right? Or 240 pounds in a year. Now, obviously, it doesn't work like that. You're going to have some back off, you're going to have some life things happen, or you're just not going to be able to go up that much. And so your rate of progression will slow down. But the concept is still there, right? And it's the same idea that with the press or the bench or even the power clean, where let's say the press I go up usually by 1 pound a week. And I have, that's 4 pounds or 48 pounds in a year. So if I'm pressing 120 or 121, you add in 48 pounds, that's what? 169. Now, it does, like I said earlier, it's not going to go up that smoothly. But the idea is that as long as you're making hard sets and you're putting intensity behind your work sets, even if your rate of progression is half of that, that's still 24 pounds in a year, which I think is a pretty reasonable progress, right? Now, as you kind of go up the scale, your rate of progression will slow down because that's just biology, and your genetics will also play a role, and your weight and all that other fun stuff. But, I guess just my thought of the day is just like, we shouldn't discount the power of small additions, right? Like, even if you're making improvements like 1 or 2%, that 1 or 2% makes a big improvement over a long period. And when I was sort of editing this video, I kind of thought the same way, where it's like, hey, my press is only like what? I'm doing 5 sets of 3 at 121. Maybe I'll go up to 130 at this rate, but you never know, right? Like, it could be lower, it could be higher, but still, it's like little jumps here and there that compounds to a very strong lifts over time. And, I think my thought is simply that, when I was younger, I was kind of eager to do everything faster. Like, like other people are doing 225 bench or 405 squat or whatever, right? But, it's, life is not going to be equal like that. Like, I realized I'm not really going to be a strong person, but I shouldn't compare myself to others. Instead, I should just compare myself to my own individual progression, right? Because if let's say that my bench is 185, like 1 rep max, which it probably is, who cares, right? As long as I beat my own records and I'm making progress, then I'm getting better. Because somebody out there will always be better than you in some way or form or whatever. And so, I guess it's sort of the thinking is kind of like, try not to beat yourself up and take the long approach. I wish I sort of took the long approach when I was younger, instead of just burying myself into the ground with all these different things. And I think training would have been more fun, if I was being honest, right? If somebody just kind of told me like, hey, you know what, just focus on these key things, take your time, don't make all these crazy jumps, don't worry about what other people are doing, and just acknowledge the fact that you're probably not going to be like most people out there. Like, maybe you're below average, or maybe you're above average, or maybe you are average, but who cares? Like, your training is your own, and your body is your own, to say the least. But anyways, No, I think overall my training's going pretty good. I mean, just to recap, squat is going good, press is going good, power clean, it's getting slower, but it's not hard yet. It's getting there. But pretty excited for this upcoming session. All right, guys.